What's going on there, YouTube? It's Gores here, giving you guys a deck profile for my Tenyi Synchro deck. You guys really have been asking a lot for the list, and I wanted to bring it to you guys, and I'm super excited to say that my new microphone came today, so I'm going to be able to start giving you guys a little bit higher quality audio. I know that in the last video it was not the best, but that's okay, because we grow together as a group. So, without further ado, let's get into the deck profile. I got some pretty spicy text in here this time around, y'all. This deck is really been putting in work in Ranked Ladder, and I really hope you guys enjoy the list. So, without further ado, let's get started. We do have one copy of Chi Wen, Light of the Yang Xing. It's just our level 1 tuner that allows us to extend into Baxia if we need to lock our opponent out of light monsters. One copy of Despot 1, just our level 1 machine tuner that we can summon, and one copy of Jet Synchron. Jet Synchron is a 1-card combo starter for us, so definitely really need to be running that card. 3 copies of Tenyi Spirit Adhara. Adhara is just another Tenyi monster for us to extend into, and it also allows us to recycle our engine. Pretty important card, I'd say. 3 copies of Max C. There's not really much to say about this card. 1 copy of O-Lion. This is another one of our main combo pieces that we get to make. It's banned in the TCG, but luckily we have it here on Master Duel to just help us go burr. So, next up we have the 1 copy of Jiaotu. Jiaotu, Darkness of the Yang Xing, is a really strong card, just because it's a level 2 tuner and allows us to synchro into 9, which can really help us in the late game as well if our opponent finds a way to interrupt our combo. Next up, we have 3 copies of Ash Blossom and Joyous Spring. Ash is just one of the best hand traps in the game, and you just absolutely have to run her. 3 new additions to the deck. Red Rose Dragon. It's a level 3 tuner, and as you saw in the combo video, the fact that we get to run this card just lets go so far into plays. So we definitely have to run this card. It's definitely mandatory 3 of in this deck. Next up, we have 1 copy of the Rox Rose Dragon. Rox Rose is just the extra combo piece to play with the Red Rose. And then another new addition to the deck, we are running 1 copy of Tenyi Spirit Chithana. Chithana is just a level 4 extender that we get to run when we're going second, and it really helps us just get that extra mile. And sometimes when we open up with Red Rose and this, we get to go into Moonlight Rose, bounce a card, summon Rox Rose from deck. Rox Rose will grab the Basil Shoot, and then we can synchro into our Baron de Fleur if we need to break more boards. Next up, we have the 1 copy of Zephyr Nui. It's just our level 6 Yang Xing that we get to go into, so we definitely have to run that. Now we have 3 copies of our Tenyi Vishuddha. It's just our level 7 starter, because when we see our level 7 starters, we get to go full combo and just make a Baron, Savage Dragon, Herald of Arclight with the counter trap set. So next up we have the 3 copies of Ashina. It's the same reason, it's our level 7 starter. And then we're running 1 copy of Nibiru in the deck. We are running Crossout Designator. We don't really want to see this card too much in a best of 1 scenario, but if our opponent is running it, we get to just Crossout Designator it away. So it's a pretty important card in that aspect, but you definitely don't need to run 3 in this deck. We can break boards just fine. We're not really worried about our opponent overextending because, like I said, we can just completely clear most boards. So that's the main reason we're just running the 1 of. Next up, we have 1 copy of Foolish Burial. This is just to send a tuner if we need to, or a Tenyi that we might be missing. Like if we happen to open the Vishuddha and the Red Rose, we can just Foolish Burial our Ashina away to be able to keep extending. Another new addition to the deck is 2 copies of Foolish Burial Goods. It's really important that we see our level 7 starter, so playing 2 copies of this is essentially playing 8 copies of our extenders, because we can send our Heavenly Circle and just be able to keep going off from there and get our regular combo. Finally, we have 3 copies of Vessel for the Dragon Cycle. This card is another Foolish Burial for the deck to allow us to keep extending, and we can even search our deck for our Chithana if we need to. It can really help us when we're going second, just allows us to keep going faster and faster in this deck, and just really reach a ceiling that was much higher than just the regular 2-card combo. Next up for our Interruption, we run 2 Called by the Grave and 3 Crossout. Crossout's kind of mandatory on Master Duel, I feel, because of Max C existing in the format. So with us having the Max C, Ash Blossom, and Nibiru, these are the only hand traps that really stop our combo outside of Infinite Impermanence, and we're still not even 100% worried about the Infinite Impermanence. If they do happen to imperm us, usually the Baron is enough to stop it right there. And then if they try to extend, if we have the cross out, then we just cross out the other hand trap that they try to use. Next up, we have 2 Heavenly Dragon Circle. If we have this card, it's good. Because we can tribute our Worm Monster and then summon a different one. Like, for example, if we open the Shithana and the Red Rose, but we're going first, and we have this card, we can turn it into an Ashina and then just be able to keep playing. So that's pretty important, I feel, to be running the circle. Next up, we have the Basil Rose Shoot. We just searched this off for our Rocks Rose to be able to use the combo. And then finally, we have 9 Pillars of the Yang Xing. 9 Pillars is just a really strong card that is an Omni Negate that we can search in this deck off of our Denglong. All right, so that's it for the main deck, y'all. Personally, I've had an amazing experience with it. Currently crafting all of our rares away to try and get our shatters, but it's just not happening for us. So for the extra deck, we have the 1 Herald, 1 Denglong, 1 Yazi, 1 Baxia, 1 Savage Dragon, 1 Draco Berserker, and 1 Chao Fang. You guys saw all these cards in the combo video, so I'm really not going to get too much into them because I explained them pretty well in that video. But some other cards that we do run is the Moonlight Dragon. This card is for going second. So we get to summon this card off of something as simple as Shithana and Red Rose, and then we just get to bounce cards as freely as we please, and then our opponent is really taken off guard when we use the Basil Rose to summon rocks, and then we use the Red Rose to summon rocks, and then sync with rocks and Moonlight into Baron and pop another card while searching for our Basil. So if we have any other extender, we get to do our regular combo while also popping 2 cards. Next up, another tech choice that I've been really enjoying in the deck is Vermilion Dragon Mech, because sometimes making the Chao Fang is good, but if we didn't have to use our Ashina, or for example, if we opened our Jiaotu, sometimes making this card is just better, because it can let us add our Banished Tuners back, and once per turn, we get to pop a card on the field, and that's just super strong. I've really been enjoying Vermilion. I don't make it too often, but there are a lot of instances where it has come up. And then for the Link monsters, we play the 1 Link Kuriboh, 2 Monk of the Tenyi, and 1 Crystron Hauki Fibrax, and the 1 Auroradon. The monks are just in there so that if we have to just play like we're a pure Tenyi deck, we can. So I took Shaman out. Shaman has been lackluster in this version of the deck, but sometimes it comes up where we can just make our Yang Xing synchros, but honestly, without the Sword Soul engine, Shaman just really isn't putting in as much work as it could be. But other than that, I've really been enjoying Monk and the Vermilion rather than playing the Shaman. But yeah, so without anything else to say, this deck is super competitive, y'all. You guys can definitely take this to your local Master Duel tournaments or your online tournaments in Dragon Rider Games Facebook, if you guys are following it, if you catch my drift. Link will be in the description below. But definitely try this list out, you guys. This list is insane right now. This is probably one of the closest decks that you can get to playing that we have in the TCG next to Despia. And this deck has been eating the Despia deck alive. Really have been enjoyed playing it. And if you guys want to see some ranked gameplay with this deck, please do not hesitate to ask me in the comments. I have a lot more other stuff scheduled coming up. But for now, it's definitely a solid choice for you guys to contend with in this format. It's extremely fast, extremely consistent, and it has a lot of other lines of play to go into for going second, which a lot of decks don't have. It's one of the main reasons I've seen so much success in ranked with this deck. So yeah, make sure you guys are liking, comment, and subscribing to the channel. Really appreciate all your guys' support. Make sure you guys go follow Dragon Rider Games on Facebook. And without anything else to say, this is Gores signing off.